So the verse that I wanted to go over was Psalm 46:10. And, this is the one that we all know, be still and know that I am God, and I will be exalted amongst the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. This verse, the very first thing that stuck out at me, because I've been tripping on in a good way, is Elohim. Because the revelation that Spirit gave me a couple days ago, and I just giggled, and I shared it on the first live stream test, and then I shared more of it today. But Elohim, look at this, Regina. You're going to, as soon as you see it, you can't unsee it. It's like as soon as your eyes go to there, you just like, oh my gosh, it's been here the whole time. So I'm going to highlight the hey. Here, I'm going to increase the size. That'll make it easier too. There we go. Okay, so in looking at the word, I'm going to highlight the hey. Well, look what's on the right and look what's on the left. We have God, and then we have C. And Yod Mem is C, and it's a symbol of the Queen of Heaven. So this, when you look at it, because the hey is in the middle and it means reveals, Aleph Lamed is God. It's God reveals the goddess, the Queen of Heaven. And then one word. And I don't know why I didn't see it before. I remember I was chatting with Ken, and all of a sudden it just popped in my head, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's God that reveals the goddess. It's in one word.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I've been, because Elohim has been on my mind for quite a while right now, and many people are talking about it and are coming to the conclusion because of like Psalm 82:6 that says you are Elohim. And things like that, that we're beginning to connect to who we are, that we're experiencing our own creation. And those who were in the beginning are at the end. The first shall be last and the last shall be first.
Yes.
And so here's the word right there to talk about the oneness factor that God reveals the goddess. It's like, that's so amazing. So what I find fascinating, and I'll because I would have to pull up the Peshitta, but we've discussed it many times, is that in the New Testament, the word God is Alaha. It's Aleph, Lamed, Hey, Aleph. So it goes from Elohim to Aleph, Lamed, Hey, and then the Yod Mem then changes, and you don't see the Yod Mem anymore. You see the Aleph added. So it shows the separation of the God and the goddess, that God reveals the goddess. And then it shows in the New Testament that the two become one. And now it's Alaha.
Yeah. Oh. Yes.
So it shows that the process was they were divided for us to learn. And we've taught that many times about the divine masculine and divine feminine. We have to learn both of them separately. And then they unite in the New Testament because the divine feminine is finally released where they can become one. And that's why we get Alaha. That's why Yod He Vav He is no longer seen in the New Testament, but we get Alaha. Because they're no longer divided. They've been able to reunite as to one, which is the same thing of what we're doing in the process, the macro and the micro and vice versa. So anyway, I love this verse. When I saw that, I was like, oh, it's got Elohim in it. So of course, I was like, let's dig. It's an Elohim verse. So let's dig. So going to the top of this verse and seeing what we have for be still, this is, I'll pull it up so that we can see what we have here. This is Rapha, which is associated with Rapha as in to heal. The difference is that Rapha to heal has an Aleph and this one has a Hey. But the Aleph and the Hey are interchangeable. They are both silent letters. And the Hey actually has, through the constituent letters, it's either spelled Hey Hey or Hey Aleph. So the word Rapha, meaning to heal, is already contained in the word. And when we look at it, it's the head that speaks forth revelation. Or in other words, the first fruit leader that speaks through the elevated language, which then would be a language that has a vibratory frequency that's elevated and brings forth the revelation. in order to bring healing. And that is amazing to me to see that this is related to that. And see, they even say, see Rapha. So when we look at Rapha, just as the connection, there we go, to heal. So in going back, we will take a look at, so the primitive root to slacken in many occasions, literal or figuratively. So going back to what we see, this is really interesting to see what they did here. The root was resh pe, hay, but the hay got removed from the suffix and jumped over to the prefix. But the vav was added on the suffix. So the place of being still, so this still has the same gematria as Rapha, to rest, right? To relax. And it also is connected to healing. But what happened is now we have mother's revelation, which in Hebrew, it's a hay lamed, and the lamed got hidden behind the hay. So the revelation of the hidden instruction that mother brings forth is to raise you up from being poor and destitute to be a first fruit leader through the language of vibration that has been elevated so one can be pierced and connect to Father. So the place of healing and the place of relaxing is once we go through the revelation of mother and go through the process, we then get to connect to Father. And once we connect to Father in our place of meekness, we can be still. Because really, mother is still part of the waters of chaos. Father is above. So when you're in the waters of chaos, it's not really a place for us. So very interesting to see that on the first word. And then the resh pe, gematria, is the same as fruit. It's in a different order, but it has the same frequency of being able to produce fruit. So in other words, we can't really produce fruit until we're in a relaxed place where we're in rest. Fruit isn't produced when we're in anxiety or stress of any sort. It's counterproductive to that. So very first word says a lot. And then moving on, we have yada, which we know is intimate knowing, right? Yada, to know intimately. And look at that, vavs on both sides. So the resting place is when we connect to mother and we connect to Father, and we know them intimately, because they are the doors of revelation that open up to us so that we have the eyes to see intimately what we need to elevate our lower flesh, because it's our lower flesh that causes chaos and anxiety. You know, the beast ego and everything that surrounds it. This allows us to go on the inside so that the revelation of what is needed, so we can find where we're weak and feeble, deliver ourselves of that, be marked with the covenant, and then tap into the fountain of the deep that's within us. And so we have to connect to both of them in order for that revelation to happen. And the only place that that can happen is in that still place. It's never going to happen with anxiety. Then moving on, we have that I. Again, you know this, that every time that they put something in brackets like that, that they added that. Because really, if this truly was I am, it would be, yeah, because of what I just shared with people and showing that, and I'll show it to you so that you can see. Let me do another. Oh, you can see this. In I am that I am. Look at this. This is so cool. And you've probably already seen it, but it really hit me profoundly that I am that I am. It's the root haya that has the aleph added to the front of it. I am one. I am one.
Yes.
So that would be the word there if this was truly I am, but it's not. It's Anoki. It's that Anoki. And This word, Ken has shared many times, and we can go into it and trace it back, but we've covered it in many, many videos. This word right
Mm-hmm.
here also means, other than this conjunction of that, for, because, when, though, you know, those kind of things, this also means a burning and a brandishing. So this is burning that comes from the power that is given to us, and burning is directly connected to the seraphim. And these two letters right here, both are power, right? One that
Mm-hmm.
grasps the power and one that gives power. So grasping the power that is given to you so that you can be bent and tamed and fill your cup with the power that is being given to you. So you have the power, means, and direction. And it's connected to Anoki. Now, Anoki, and I know you've seen this before too, because this is in many, 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 many verses, pronoun singular. The very first time that we see this was because I was afraid because I was naked. So this is in reference to Adam and Chava in the garden, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the very first time it's used. So it's the very first time that I am is used in that fashion. And it's, I mean, it's just simple. But they could have used Ani, because Ani is the shortened form of Anoki. The difference is that Anoki has the cough still on the inside. Ani, Ani Tov, I am good, or Anoki Tov. The difference is this is grasping power. This is the power that comes from oneness, the spiritual path that one takes. That's the seed of life, to give us the strong foundation if we grasp a hold and fill our cup with the power that is being given to us, to those who give. This is our burning that produces the nature of Elohim. So these two this is, both of these words have power in it. Both of them. Grasp the power, grasp the power. And because it's two back-to-back powers, we're talking about the power of mother and the power of father that are found within the languages, the Hebrew and the Aramaic, the divine masculine and the divine feminine, so that they can be united as God that reveals the goddess as one. That's like, wow. So we have to
Yeah.
find that spiritual path that fills us up, sets us apart, and sets us above. And that is through the work and deed of what our hands do. Because again, the cough we know is the grasping, right? It's grasping a hold, and then the work and deed comes from the yod. So it's the doing of the sacred languages that are really the source of our power on our spiritual path in the way of becoming one. And the Elohim know this language. I mean, it's the revelation of that is within them. It's the core essence of their being in connecting to the Godhood within them, between the divine masculine and the divine feminine that are being united, which is the power for us to now be set in the waters above and not in the chaotic waters below. So amazing to see that. But here's where we connect the dots, because we only have 4 more words. This is actually a really quick verse to see. We have the word exalted twice. Now, the covenant of the pieces also apply here, because this is the same word that has been divided. But, instead of seeing it in, it's here. I'll just show it this way. This makes it a little bit easier to see it this way. So we have the same word that has been divided, and right in the middle is the word goyim, the nations. So because it's the covenant of the pieces, same exact word, we have mother on the prefix side of it and father on the suffix side of it, and in the middle is the nations. So what is that saying? Well, what it's saying is that mother's teaching is meant to exalt you. So if we take a look at the root of it, as again, we got to trace it down. To be high actively, to rise or raise. in various applications, whether it's literally or figuratively, to rise or to raise. And the root, when we look at the spelling of it, is Resh Vav Mem. So the leader, one who's been poor and destitute, that has been raised up, that is connected to source within, and is in the completed waters, not of chaos, but of the peaceful waters. That is meant, that's what raises us up so we can rise up, right? But this has the added olive. That's what raises us up, is the oneness unity. So mother and her job is to teach that, because she is one, because again, we got the Elohim. So she is one that will raise you up through her teachings. That begins that process of getting you out of the chaos of the golden rule. I mean, again, you know, if you're prone to, I always say this, but if you're prone to punching people in the face, you're going to get punched right back. And that's going to cause a lot of chaos and potentially some jail time. So, you know, mother is going to help raise you up out of that, because her goal is for you to connect to the waters above, to this. That's what's so fascinating, Regina, is that this is telling us of the God reveals the goddess, and this is telling you how to do it in the next 3 words. Connect to the oneness principle through the covenant of the pieces, mother's first, and then connect to Father through his peace, which is meant to raise you up as well. And what's right in the middle of it? The nations. It is meant to raise up the nations. This is the way we would see this before, because of the way they see the word goyim, how some see the way the word goyim is. Goyim is not bad. Goy means those who gather and assemble. They gather what they need to ripen them and to wean them, so that they can be connected within and filled up, set apart and set above, that have been given power. They've been given power because they are those who give.
There's nothing negative about going.
There's nothing.
Crazy?
And the only reason why it comes across being negative, and you think about this, is that if you're raised in a culture that uses that word negatively, you're not going to see it, right?
Yeah. Nope.
You're not going to see it at all.
That's a big deal.
And so they're saying, take a look at Geva, and that means back. I'm pretty sure this is the root that means back, the back. So these are those that are in the back that are not in the front. They're not seen. They're not out in the front, but they're still gathering what they need, and they're assembling that which they need, because it literally gam, the Paleo Hebrew meaning, it was just a gimel mem. And then it became gimel mem lamed over time. So they were gathering at the water for instruction. And we know it's the living water teachings, so that they can connect to the revelation of their higher self.
So is it basically divide the difference between the elves and just the nations, or just the people that haven't got there yet? Is that because they're gathering, they're just not necessarily
if we
elevated yet?
Yeah, if we look at it as a now thing, this is something that has really been not heavy on my heart, but I really feel like the Spirit has been pressing this upon me specifically to comprehend this, that we need to divorce ourselves from history, because history is not our now. We are being given revelations in our now that are of greater than what was in our history. And if we get stuck on our history, it's like a boat anchor, and it's never going to allow us to move forward. I was specifically connecting to this word Elohim, was something that came to me about a week ago. I was in the shower, I was in my living water, and I was just showering away. And I was pondering and I was praying, because usually it's kind of funny how that works, but usually that's the place where I do a lot of my pondering. So I'm in the shower and I'm just talking to the Father and I'm going, this Elohim. And then I started thinking about like Enlil and Enki. And all of a sudden the Spirit said, stop. You are Enlil and Enki. And I was like, whoa, wait. You are Elohim. You are one. You are Enlil and Enki. Stop looking to the past and pull it to your present in your now. Those who are first shall be last, and those who are last shall be first. I was like, oh my gosh, wait a minute. Okay, so the Elohim, Enlil and Enki that people are all hung up on in the Sumerian tablets and where we came from, and we have these, what is that whole thing on the History Channel? What do they call it? The aliens. Anyway, my brain is really tired, but basically that, we were seated. It makes no difference to where we came from. What makes a difference is what we do in our now and where we are going with it tomorrow. So that revelation and looking at it again, if we connect it to the nations, we're talking about lifting up the entire planet. We're not talking about a specific group of people. We're talking about all of humanity. And Gentiles, as we know, just means out of covenant ones. Out of covenant just means, and look at what's added. Look what is added to this word. On the front of the goyim, or the goy, is a bet, which means build. Build. Build through the spiritual path, the covenant. So this whole message of Mother and Father is to raise up the nations, to teach them how to build through the Bet Tov, the 222, the two pathways of Mother and Father of the Hebrew and the Aramaic, so that God can reveal the goddess as that we are all one. That's what this is saying. So this tells us how to do it between Mother and Father, that this is going to be taken to the nations for them to build through the covenant to find love so that they too can become the goddess, so that they can have the divine feminine, because the whole world has been under the patriarchy. The whole world has been limited to the ability to have the divine feminine to come back, to have the God and the goddess revealed as one. And the beauty of this, we have the diamond that is above the yod. And that diamond literally means, when you go look at the Hebrew word for this cannellation mark, means a gift from God. So these teachings of oneness of Mother and Father that is meant to exalt the nations as a gift from God, so that they can build through the covenant, where they will be marked, exempt from judgment because they no longer judge. Now they will be moved into the waters above instead of the waters of below, becoming Asherah. They're becoming Asherah, the goddess. It's bringing it back. So it's exalting the lower to be able to come up and connect with the higher. That's so amazing to me. And then it says that through this, we need to build it in the Eretz. We need to build it. And there's a couple times where this Hebrew word, which if the Vav was in the middle, it's light, but there's times when or, light, is just written as Aleph Resh. So this is build light in the earth.
Yeah.
And it has to be done. So we've got the fallen Zadi, the Zadi Sophit, which is talking about building it in the material world. Build it here is what it's saying to me. Build it in the material world. Yes, it's a spiritual concept, but it needs to be built in the material world. This is, that phrase about don't be so lofty that, what is it? So that you're no earthly good. Don't be so heavenly minded so you're no earthly good. I've
Yeah.
never liked that, because that phrase, we definitely need to be heavenly minded so that we can be earthly good. And that is what this is saying right here, because heavenly minded is exalting us to the waters above, not the waters below, so that the nations can build it in the earth. And it'll be those who come and go, because that's a Hebrew word for coming and going, as they're taking the light of this message and building it in the earth, in the material realm. And the Zadi is the place where we hunt and chase. It's a journey that we go upon, that we are building light in the earth. So this is really, I don't like to use a lot of the Christianese terms, but this is really the gospel message, the Besurah. And Besurah, it's interesting because Besor has to do with the flesh. It's the elevation, the revelation of the flesh that will be carrying the heavenly message of Father to bring it and build it in the earth. But we have to exalt the oneness principle, and we have to take it to the nations, because it's really the gift of God. It's the gift of God to be able to bring the goddess back, so that the Elohim, so God can reveal the goddess as being built in the earth. And that's what this is all about. But it's saying that the first thing that we have to do, Mother's revelation and her teachings, that will go ahead and bring forth a way to connect to Father, which then automatically causes you to be still and relax, because that means you've connected to that which is above already, and you're intimately knowing that. So if we want to follow this in what it's saying about being still, we need to be able to connect to Father, and Mother has those hidden teachings for us to produce fruit, so we can intimately know, being able to connect to both of them. This is the burning and the brandishing that happens from the seraphic message that is connected and is meant to connect to us the dual power by revealing the oneness principle by the spiritual path that we have to grasp a hold of. We got to fill our cup with it. We got to be pierced and filled up with it, and grasp a hold and tame ourselves to the power of that which is God revealing the goddess, strong leader teaching shepherds that bring the revelation to empower us to be in the waters above. And this is meant to exalt us, all of us, the ones that are out of covenant, so that they can begin to build spiritually through the 222 journey, so that they can attach themselves and become part of the goddess as well, which is being able to bring heaven to earth, because we're building it here. This is a now principle. That's why I wanted to bring that in, about what the Spirit was saying about Elohim. Leave your past behind you, see what you have in front of you in your now, and go build it. Go build it, starting with ourselves. Ani, Anoki. I am grasping the power of that which is being given to me through the sacred languages that bring this revelation. I'm building it, knowing that I am God that reveals the goddess, because I am Elohim. And I will, as one, help exalt the nations by being a gift from God, so that we can build it together. That's so amazing.
Yes. Wow.
I just love the language. I just love it.
That's so good. Yeah.
And every time
That's
I get to share, I mean, it's one thing like when I get my own personal study time, but it's another when I get to say, Regina, look at this, so much fun. We got this banqueting table right here. Let me share with you a little bit from this bowl, and a little bit from this plate, and a little over here. And did you see what was on the end of the table over there? And what about that over there? And do you want some champagne with that?
Yeah. Yeah.
It just fills me with joy.
Good.
And it fills me with joy to share it, just because it's oneness, unity. It's literally giving us the power to build it on earth by seeing it, capturing it, eating it, letting it fill us with light so that we're changed, so that we have actually the ability to do it. This isn't a lofty concept that is way out there. It is here, it is now, and it's the work indeed of our hand to shift the entire, all the nations. And we just do it one person at a time. Wow. I know I'm going to have somebody probably say, well, that's a really lofty goal. Well, of course it is. And it should be. It's not given to us automatically. We've got to do something. We need to be the change that the world needs to see so that they can become it. It's not anybody else. It's not me pointing the finger and saying, oh, that politician is going to solve it. Or we're going to have another world leader that's going to come up and fix the whole world. No, they aren't fixing anything. It's us. It's us, and it's now, because we are the Elohim. We are the creators. We are the strong leader teaching shepherds that bring this revelation and give the power, means, and direction to open the door of this revelation for others so that they can go inside, do what they need to, and get out of the waters of chaos to the waters above. How fantastic. I say yes and amen all over that.
Oh, yeah.
That's my intent, and
Yep,
I'm
with you,
out there, man. I'm putting it out there.